A Supreme Court unlike any other. The deepening divide between the justices and the people. By Kevin J. McMahon. Published by the University of Chicago Press. For Pamela. Preface. Democracy in Court. Presidents and Justices. If I had ever thought of writing a 3-volume series when I first began my work on the presidency and the Supreme Court, I had forgotten about it long ago. But then a string of events described below convinced me to write this book. It is the 3rd volume in my work on this subject. The titles of the first 2 are Reconsidering Roosevelt on Race, How the Presidency Paved the Road to Brown, University of Chicago Press 2004, and Nixon's Court, His Challenge to Judicial Liberalism and Its Political Consequences, University of Chicago Press 2011. Together, the 3 books explore and analyze nearly a century of presidential efforts to shape the High Court. In doing so, they consider the political and doctrinal consequences of presidential policies toward the judiciary, and, in this volume, how the political construction of the court affects its democratic legitimacy. Together, I title the 3 books Democracy in Court, Presidents and Justices, an early title I chose for my dissertation and then abandoned at some point in that long process. It is a title designed to signal my exploration of how democratically elected politicians, particularly presidents, attempt, often successfully, to move the Supreme Court in a desired ideological direction while simultaneously advancing their electoral interests and managing their governing coalition. In each of the books, I have attempted to add to the story and to highlight aspects of the presidential-judicial relationship that had previously been ignored or underexamined in the scholarship. Although this book began in roughly the same place, with a consideration of the political construction of the Rehnquist and Roberts courts, it is quite a bit different from the first 2. Unlike my earlier work, in which I argued that both Franklin D. Roosevelt and Richard Nixon had an unmistakable imprint on the court, I began this work at a historic moment in which presidential effectiveness appeared more limited. Indeed, most commentators had concluded that the Republican presidents Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, and Donald J. Trump hadn't yet delivered the doctrinal product they promised. The path to the construction of deeply conservative constitutional doctrine was instead pockmarked with failure. I wanted to understand why. Doing so required me to consider the court's construction during increasingly polarized.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?